Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my new shelves. Here they are. I've set them up. There is some tweaking that will probably happen, but here they are. This is my new shelving setup. So I am in my front room, so there is traffic that goes past. I'm hoping with the microphone it will just pick up me and it won't pick up that, but if it does pick up that, then I will shuffle things around. I'll figure things out, but for now, we're just going to test it today on these next two videos, the March TBR and the February wrap up. But hopefully you're not hearing too much traffic because I can hear it. I just hope you can't. So March TBR, it's got some similarities to my February TBR because in February I was very, very ambitious. A bit too ambitious for how much I was actually able to read. And I did make like some really good progress, but we do have some repeats from February and then some new bits and bobs that I'm hoping to get to in March. I have, ambitions for March. Again, like February, I'm probably going to be a little bit over ambitious. I have high hopes of what I'm going to be able to achieve and everything, but we'll see how it all pans out. March is looking like it's going to be a relatively busy month. It is looking quite stacked. It is looking quite full. On the 2nd of March, I am traveling for work for a week, going to Turkey. It's very last minute and I'm actually quite excited because this is outside of my normal wheelhouse, which is France. Yeah, destination I've not really been to. I have been to Turkey, but I'm going to the Cappadocia region, which looks stunning. Like absolutely stunning. I've seen it on like Instagram, TikTok. It looks beautiful. So when they said a week ago, do you want to do this? I was like, I don't know if I really have a choice here because this looks stunning. I'm a little bit busy, but I'll make it work. So I'm doing that. And then at the end of the month, I should be traveling again to the France Andorra region again for work. We're having our bathroom redone as well in the house. So for 2 weeks of the month, I'm going to be a little bit like trying to figure out how I maintain my being presentable without having a bathroom or having a very dysfunctional bathroom. And yeah, it's just going to be a very busy month, I think, between traveling and bathroom. Who knows when I'm going to get to reading, but I will. My plans for March. I mean, as I'm filming this, it is already the 1st of March because February was so short. I am filming and uploading this the same day as well. Doesn't normally happen like that, but it is happening like that today. So my first plans for March are to finish what I did not finish in February. So I am the majority, well, 2/3, which is the majority of the way through the Mime Order by Samantha Shannon, the second book in the Bone Season series. I'm loving this. I'm loving this reread. And I feel as though, because it's been 10 years, it does not feel like a reread. It feels like I've forgotten everything and it's a first time read. Like I see those things where people say, oh, I wish I could read this again for the first time. I literally feel like I'm reading this again for the first time. And I'm loving it. Like, I agree with what I rated these books in the past. Like, on my reread of the Bone Season, I gave it 5 stars. I was like, yes. 2014 Abby knew what she was doing. And I continue to stick by that. 2014 Abby knew what she was doing when she picked these up. So I'm absolutely adoring this. But yeah, I'm 339 pages into like a 520 odd page book. So hoping to finish this weekend. And in this, it's like an alternative version of our world, such like the 2050s. We're following main character Paige Mahoney, and she is part of the criminal underworld in London. And the criminals are all people that have some sort of magical power. So, and typically this relates to like spirits or being able to like get out of your own sort of psyche and see into like the future or be able to control poltergeists and things. And there is this opposing force that is criminalizing all of that. And at the beginning of the first book, she gets arrested. So, and things go from there. But yeah, absolutely adoring this. So this is going to be the first book for March because I could not quite finish it yesterday. And then potentially I could continue on into the third book. I don't think I'd continue straight away, but I expect by the second half of March, I'll be ready to read this. And this I have never read before. This one will be fresh, even though the second one feels fresh. Getting into The Song Rising, which is actually one of my oldest books on my TBR because I have the ARC, which I got whenever the ARC was given out. First published 2017, so I must have had that since 2017. So it's probably one of the oldest books on my shelf, just not this edition. So it would be quite an accomplishment getting this one off the TBR because it's been there for so long. Yeah, that would be an idea. And then, yes, a couple of repeats from the February TBR. I have Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie, the first book in the standalones by him. This one is a revenge-centered story. I've read the First Law trilogy a couple of years ago in 2023, and ever since been planning to continue on. Well, I think I wanted a little break, but for a few months now I've been wanting to continue on. It just hasn't happened. It's trying to balance, I feel like, the longer books with something shorter, and it just hasn't had its moment yet. I am excited to dive into this. I'm expecting it to be grimdark, graphic, not very positive, but yeah, it just feels like it's going to be probably quite a traumatic read. I then have the second book in the Lady of Darkness series, being Lady of Shadows. This is the series that is being read for Becca and the Books Patreon, which I'm part of, so I'm a little bit behind now, because I think this was the book for January and February? I think so. I think this one was the January and February book. It's obviously going to be March, but I feel as though I'm happy enough with the way that I've been pacing it, because I know that the fifth book doesn't get published in these like new editions until the summer, so it's finding the right way to pace myself with this. This is a fantasy romance that is quite heavily inspired by the Throne of Glass series. So we're following a main character, Scarlet, who is an assassin, and at the beginning of the first book, she's been out of the assassin sphere for a little while due to some traumatic events, but she gets roped back into doing this task because she is told that the person that she will be assassinating was part of the murder of her mother. So she is quite heavily invested in it. It's got quite classic fantasy romance plot lines with like princes and fae and court intrigue and politics and bits and pieces. So I am intrigued to see where this second book goes and diving into it after enjoying the first one at the very beginning of January and wanting to see where this is all going to unfold. Likewise with the series that I started at the very beginning of January and need to continue on with now is the TBR series, so reading the second book, Throne of Jade, by Naomi Novik. So I read that second book. I did plan to get this, I read that first book in January. I did plan to get this one in February. I planned to get quite a few of these in February. It didn't quite happen because there was just too many on there. But I do think this one might be my next read, potentially, or the one that comes away with me, just because I feel as though it's going to be a very easy read to dive in and out of. But this one we're following a main character, Captain Lawrence, who is part of the Navy. I should say that the overall premise of this is the Napoleonic Wars, but with dragons. So the battle between the British and the French at that time. And Captain Lawrence is part of the Navy, and at the very beginning of the first book, him and his crew capture a French vessel, and the French vessel was actually carrying a dragon egg that was about to hatch. And the normal process would be that they would take this egg to the hatching grounds, and there would be a crew of people that are trained to become dragon riders, and they would take control of it. But because the egg is about to hatch, he ends up bonding with the dragon, and we go from there as they enter into the training corps and the start of their experience in this battle between the French and the English, but on a dragon instead of being on a ship. But yeah, this is much a longer series, but they're all relatively short and I think quite easy fun reads. And then another potential that I might pick up for next week is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, which is a standalone sort of fairy tale-esque fantasy. I think we're following a main character, Cordelia, whose mother is unusual. So yeah, her mother is very controlling and is a sorceress. And one day her mother, I guess, starts a relationship with a gentleman, and the main character that we're following wants to prevent any harm from coming to this gentleman and his family. That's where it goes. I've enjoyed T. Kingfisher's other works that I've read, so I really enjoyed Thornhedge and Nettle and Bone, and I've read The House of Good Bones as well. That was one of her more horror leaning ones, so I am definitely interested in getting into this one. Okay, otherwise, if I have time, I would like to do some sort of TBR tackle in March. I feel as though so far I've been doing well. January I just started loads of things. This past month in February I was doing really well with working on my series and sequels. Now going into March, I would like to try and do some sort of tackle. I mean, aside from everything here that I've already mentioned, which is obviously a priority, but one of my big aims for this year is to try and work down my physical TBR and get it into a slightly more reasonable place. I mean, I think it is relatively reasonable compared to some, but everyone's TBRs it's all respective to that person. That one person's could be 600 and they're perfectly happy with it, and one person's could be 20 and they want to get it lower. It all just relative. And I would like to get mine a little bit smaller, me personally. So I haven't really done much tackling of my physical TBR so far. I think I've pretty much kept it quite stable, that I've brought quite a few books in and haven't quite, I haven't quite been able to tackle some of those TBR books. So that would be one of the things that I would really like to try and do in March, is bring in some of the more random books from my TBR that might have been sitting, languishing a little bit, that I haven't really thought about so much. So I have 2 ideas of how to go about that. One of them is looking at my read or unhaul pile. There are a couple from there that I haven't got to, and that have been calling to me a little bit, so I could potentially look at going for both, or either or, doesn't necessarily have to be both, but Incendiary and The City of Dusk, which are 2 books from that read or unhaul, which expires in May. So we'll potentially looking at either of these as an option to start working on that pile of books, so that I don't have to unhaul them, is the nature of that video, that unless I get to them in the 12 months since filming it, that I should be unhauling them because I've not thought about the books. But here we are, so potentially getting to these. Or my other idea would be sort of spinning a wheel based on the year that I hauled the book. So like 2020 and prior, because I don't have loads of those ones anymore, but there is still a few. And then like 2020, 2021, 2, 3, 4, 5, spin the wheel, and whichever year it lands on, I have to pick a book that I bought in that year. So that's another idea that I've sort of thought of as a way to try and randomise a little bit what I'm picking up. Or if you have any other ideas, let me know. But yeah, working through a little bit more some of the random books that have been languishing. Otherwise, I do still have Kavithri by Aman J. Bedi, which I had planned to read in February with Vish. I guess it just didn't really get to the top of the TBRs for either Vish or I, so that one is still on the TBR. And then I will be continuing my audiobook rereads of the Throne of Glass series, so I will be starting Queen of Shadows at some point this month. I've literally just finished Heir of Fire yesterday, so that is going to be the next one, but because of travelling for work, I don't know quite when I'm going to start it, because I'm not going to have a big long run to start it off with. But yeah, I am really looking forward to diving into that one as well. So I think that's it. I think that's oh no, that's not everything. There are a couple of new releases that I forgot about. Yes, they're not here in front of me. I do have a couple of new releases. So the new releases that are coming out that I am most interested in are 2 that continue on with my series. So early in the month, the Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare is coming out. That is the sequel to Swordcatcher, so I am excited to read that one and continue on in that series. And then the other one, which is coming out towards the second half of the month, is Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy, which is the 6th and final book in the Plated Prisoner series. So that would finish off a series quite successfully, and that is a fantasy romance series. So those are 2 new releases that would be like on my top priority buy list if I do go out and buy any books. The balance of, do you buy books or do you not buy books? Because there are still some that I haven't bought from like this month. Like I wanted to buy Ali Hazelwood's new book and I haven't. I've resisted because I've been wanting to work on that TBR. Anyway, let me know what you're planning to read in the month of March and what you're hoping to get up to. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!